We are now live, ma'am.
Okay.
Chandra, ma'am, we are live.
Okay, sir. Are you audible?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I can hear
Good
them.
evening, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Chandana Paul, and I'm assistant professor in Vatel Hotel and Tourism Business School, Sushant University. Today is day 4 of the workshop series Hospitality and Tourism Interface, which is focused on evolving traveler sentiments during this COVID era. And today's topic is New Age India in Responsible Tourism Enmeshed with Post-COVID. Tourism, one of the biggest and fast-growing sector, has been considered as a vulnerable industry in comparison to other industries. Tourism industry gets more affected due to any external and internal shocks or stresses. In this regard, the latest outbreak of corona has caused havoc across the world. The aim of this workshop is to gather the status of impacts of the virus on various national and international tourism policies, their inflow, outflow, and tourism sector as a whole. And to speak on this topic, we have with us our esteemed speaker, Mr. Sunil Gupta, who is Secretary General of New Tourism Foundation. He is a seasoned professional with diversified experience in hotel operations, guest serving, and staff management. He is an alumnus of IHM Pusa. He is the Secretary General of New Tourism Foundation and the former Chief Executive Officer of Welcome Heritage Hotels. His expertise is in managing operations, encompassing core operations in high-end luxury business hotels, proficient in developing systems with proven ability to enhance operational administrative effectiveness and meet operational goals within the cost, time, and quality parameters. He is an energetic leader with a high sense of integrity, with excellent interpersonal and analytical skills, positive personality, and assertive communication skills. I would now request Ms. Neil Gupta to please go ahead with the topic and please enlighten us with all the information that how tourism is going to evolve now after COVID-19. Sir, over to you, please.
You're on mute, Sunil, sir. You're on mute.
Sir, you have to unmute.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the most sought after topic in the current days for the last, I guess, 30, 40 days. And in fact, the next chakra is that now people have started guessing, when would this get over? What first phase was the impact, now is when would this get over and how do we get out of it? Thank you very much, Chandana, for giving such an elaborate introduction about myself. In fact, all that sounds good when one hears it, but essentially, let me also assure you that I never faced a pandemic of this magnitude during my working career. But having said that, there were challenges of different styles, different situations were presented, which we came out of it. What you call the volatility, uncertainty, this is always a part and parcel of the hotelier's life. Anything impacts the environment, anything impacts the nation, anything impacts the lifestyle. For some reason, the tourism is the first of all which gets impacted. So hence, the tourism is also designed to be very flexible in terms of taking a dip and bouncing back to the normalcy. It does bounce back to the normalcy. But of course, this one has lasted a little longer than what was expected. I will share some of the thoughts which I have put on and I've been sharing with some of these things. First, I will share the emerging scenario and what you call the emergence of a new normal, and then I will share the what you call the new normal for the hotel industry. I hope it is okay with you all. This is going to be in the presentation format. And I guess the time available with me is about 45 minutes or 1 hour. I may not leave that long, but we'll also go through the question and answer. Okay. So I'll share this screen. Is this visible?
Yes, yes, you're visible. Very much visible, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So put over some thoughts and points after listening to the different data analysis and everything. What I call is the emergence of the new normal and essentially behavior and economy. There are two aspects of it: how the behaviors have changed and how the economy is living and shaping. Behavior-wise, individual demands and desires are constricting. Now, suddenly, the entire humanity across globe has realized that you can actually live in 60% of what you were earlier spent. Lesser travel, no public transport, preferred individual transport. That's the preference order is that as and when now you have to go out, you prefer your own. Nuclear families wanting to stay close by. Nobody wants to stay with their own families, relations, far away because you, in the need of time, you can't really connect back. Physical shopping is restricted to basics. More emergence of online. People are wanting to avoid going out, and health focus is greater, and preference is the non-medical immunity. I mean, people are exploring everything, and there are so many things in the market. One doesn't have to really say it. Education is more in line with facilities which are focused on cleanliness and hygiene. Entertainment for family is completely missing and is in search criteria. Everybody is in search, how do I keep my family entertained? We're all cooped up in the house and what more to do. Insurance spend will increase because people are wanting to feel safe. Health insurances are on the increase. Dependence on the local health centers for regular medical needs. Large hospitals you've lost faith in. Feel that you might catch. You're looking at the local medical center. Industry, lesser workforce in the institutions and factories. Most of the industries right now operating with about 50 to 55% workforce, which means the production is kind of impacted. Reduced salaries, compensations to keep the entire business alive. Employees are being asked to compensations which are being more reasonable for the present age rather than anything else. And this is also given a rise to emergence of the individual enterprise, which means lots of things which can now move on to online are coming, creating an individual enterprise. Land rates as you move forward will rationalize. Now, individual demands and desires are constricting. Those were the major parts. Now, getting into little more details. This will get driven by the factor basic needs, FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, and aspirations. I mean, if you have a basic need, or you have a desire, or you have an aspiration. So the aspirational aspect is something which will be the last of all, and tourism industry is more into the third category. Travel and hotels will come in the third category, leading to the lesser inventory movement, hence reduced production. Higher ad spend, each product will wish to create higher demand. Now, how do you create higher demand? You will have to create more visibility. Lower salary, wages, and benefits, and the establishment costs will have to be maintained by the individuals to ensure that the establishment stays in business. Profitability will be challenged to sustain. Nobody probably is looking at similar profitability what was a couple of years ago. As long as you can meet or match the expenses, probably would be good enough for business. From the bank's point of view, this year may create larger number of NPAs. Internet spend and the demand of a family is definitely moved up. Lesser travel and no public transport. It's leading to higher demand for individual vehicles. Low-cost vehicles, bikes, etc. are in higher demand. Road infrastructure will need to improve. Fuel demand may go up, hence higher price and inflation. Public transport, including air, rail, which may need to comply with the hygiene standards, will become expensive. If you look at the airlines, they've already become expensive. Directly or indirectly, what is mentioned in green on my slides is impacting tourism either ways, either positively or negatively. Nuclear families wanting to stay close by, realization to be close by is coming alive in the given circumstances. Need for workspaces and bigger individual spaces at home is now more. You have a 3-bedroom house, 4-bedroom house, But suddenly you realize now there are 3 or 4 people sitting in their own desk and doing full day's work also, in addition to being at home. When people have given it a phenomena called work from home, WFH, but I call it live in office. It's no more that you're no more working from home. It's virtually you're living in office all the time your laptop is open. Home designs may undergo change as people may look at creating 1 or 2 sound-free cabins at home. You do not want disturbances. However, local areas will have business centers, cabins, nearby
Screen has
houses.
gone.
Sorry? Can you see the screen or it's gone?
Visible, we can see your screen. Very much visible.
Somebody said screen is gone.
Maybe the network issue was there in the system. It's visible, sir.
Okay.
सर कनेक्शन उड़ गया क्या बंद हो गया अच्छा
So what that will lead to is the lost track of. So what I was saying is that within your community, within your area, wherever you're living in, you will find some of the house getting converted into business centers, creating cabins where people guys. At least you will get out of your house to go and walk those 100 feet or 150 feet and sit in the cabin there and you work. Reduced or lesser home help, hence many food is picked up online more on regular basis. You would have already seen food delivery business is already on the 22% growth as compared to the past. Physical shopping is restricted to the basic, more emergence of online. More and more home supply business will be online. Even regular supplies such as provision, etc., will begin to move physical to online, could be from local. I live in Saket in New Delhi, and all my shopkeepers in the smaller market, the larger market, they've suddenly moved from expecting us at their shop to they've sent their numbers and you can place orders and they send the delivery boys at house. Preference will be same person delivering because you do not want to experience different people coming in. Now, software controlling all this will have greater opportunity. Any software which can sort of make this entire network operational easy will become larger, which means the software development will have opportunity types. Health focus is greater, preferred non-medicine community, emergency of the nearby medical center, emergence of health centers, advising on non-medical health awareness program. You'll see a lot of yoga and everything is going on. Now, vocation centers, resorts with higher focus on health and recreation and preferred long stays will become most preferred destinations. More than the city hotels, it is the leisure destinations which will sort of start moving into this. Individual soundproof work cabins will have to be created in those villas or on those properties. Reduced incomes will seek for value-based packages. People are no more looking at 25,000 rupees, 3,000 rupees packages. Because the salaries have gone down, they're also looking for greater value offer. Education and skill centers, institute with good hygiene facilities will be required. Hostels with individual accommodation will be required. Hostels, you were putting 2 students, 3 students together, probably the parents would prefer individual cubicles. So this will bring in an emergence of hostel operating chains services is seen. I mean, so far you've seen 2-star, 1-star. This suddenly you will find now, apart from the guest houses, there's a hostel chain of hostels also. One brand operating or managing the chain of hostels. Skill centers to train human resources to render basic services for accommodation. On the job, training centers would keep coming down. Entertainment for families is the missing criteria. Having said that, people will travel to short distance, 300 to 500 kilometers, probably drivable distances, individual vehicles, preferably long stays, stopover on highway at hygienically stamped cafe or restaurants. Today only I was talking in the morning FSSAI and I was telling them that look, you will have to come up with some sort of a stamp which can be put outside the restaurant so the person is free that this has been audited and found to be hygienically following all principles. Complete medical assurance at the stay resort. Doctor on call is no more valid. Earlier we used to say doctor on call. Probably a guest who is coming and staying needs complete medical insurance assurance. You'll have to get into the VAssure model that every time a person comes into your hotel, so if or something happens, you are able to handle it, including hospitalization. Redesigned medical features, SOPs, standard operating procedures will have to be brought in. Rooms designed for family stay with work events. Right now, most of the hotels, 400 square feet, 450 square feet, large double bed, sofa here, there, and all that. But probably moving ahead, you'll have to change the room designs to take on the family rather than insurances, credit card, bank deposit. Most of the online standards will begin to keep coming up. So this is what I felt that this is where the new normal into every area will start doing it. Now, if there are any questions or any debate on this, we can talk. Otherwise, I can take you on to the new normal for the tourism. Shall I continue, or anybody has a question in between?
Sir, you can continue the topic, and at last we can have the Q&A session if that's fine with you.
Okay. So now these are the thoughts which I could gather for specific to the topic new age and responsible tourism matched with the post-COVID world. The business for any segment is based on demand and supply. Hotels demand is created by the phenomena called travel. I mean, if a person travels, then only the hotels get filled. The travel has been halted. It has resulted in zero occupancy for hotels. Last 4 months, the experience of the hotels is that they are mostly experiencing zero occupancy. Having said that, 48% hotels in this country are shut. 23% hotels are operating as the either quarantine facility or the quarantine facility for the transiting passenger, and there are another 18% which are for the quarantine facilities attached to the medical facilities in different. It is the first time that the country is experiencing a phenomenon where hotels had to be taken over for hospitals. Now, looking forward as the unlocking begins, the travel is basic requirement of the tourism related, which requires physical presence. I mean, a person virtual travel also doesn't help. Tourism doesn't move with virtual travel. Person has to move. Meeting segment will also be reduced by 60%, and meetings will get replaced by virtual meetings like we are doing one now. There are no more faculties coming to your college, there are nobody coming, and everybody is sitting at home and talking, and listener is also sitting. For leisure, the travel may take longer to start. The travel related to medical or leisure, the travel may take little, just leisure pure. But leisure segment per se will improve. But within the leisure segment, travel related to medical, wellness, de-stress, etc. will begin. I was talking to people in Rishikesh yesterday, and most of the hotels are full. People are going there now, staying there for a month, for 21 days, doing some yoga courses, doing some yoga plans, etc. I mean, these are, otherwise you would find Rishikesh always in a price band of about 2,000 to 3,000. Now Rishikesh is aggregating an ARR of 7,000 plus. That's the kind of demand which is created by COVID. Normal demand, which is was pre-COVID, may take about 2 years to come back to that. We'll have to reset the costs. There's lots going on in terms of taxes, levies, deferment. I mean, the tourism segment is trying to see government help. What the government can do to support this. So there is little to talk about there. There's plenty which has been spoken about it. But essentially, what will reset the cost is creating hub of 4 to 5 star hotels, 4 to 5 hotels. Taking shared services concept for activities like HR, training, third-party hygiene audits, material procurement, technology-driven distribution channel. I'll go into little more details as we move forward. The shared services concept, exploring alternate options for revenue and creating demand. For example, laundry at the hotels, it can be extended to the city guests. Most of the hotels have been utilizing laundry, utilizing floors for long-staying city families or guests seeking social distancing. Sometimes the family has propensity to pay, but essentially do not have enough number of rooms. You feel, last 2 months we've lived into these 4 bedrooms only. Let's move to a hotel and live there for a month or so. Room as an alternate work cabin can also is now coming to little more detail, setting new health and hygiene protocols. Each hotel or each property of the tourism segment will have to set in new protocols for the guests and employees both. Guest ensuring contactless arrival to the room check-in. As the guest arrives, there is a need to do a little bit of a security check at the main gate itself. Then he comes to the porch. Now, earlier, the security guard will move about the metal detector. A lot of things would happen. But essentially now the security guard cannot go near the guest. So it has to be, you have to redesign the entire, where there are scanners placed and car is scanned through the cameras, etc. He comes over to the porch, and porch he goes on to the reception. He has to now pass through the hygiene or the sanitization cabins that we've got. A lot of ultraviolet cabins have come in. Instead of doing that spray, etc., people pass through this, and it is assumed that they are now completely sanitized. Equally important for employees, monitoring daily for temperature, ensuring hygiene of individual employees, sanitation, and all touch points. The hygiene, etc., especially for branded hotel chains, have always been part. Now, it is no more a matter of just a discussion. Number one, each restaurant and hotel will have to enforce and follow it. And you'll have to actually make sure that each employee is in fit condition and is no way could be carrying any virus which can be contaminating any surfaces or any gear. This is what you have to make sure. Redefining operating protocols and processes, ensuring touchless doors, contactless ordering process in food and beverage outlets. Touchless doors means you would have seen at the airports, etc. Already those at the main lobby, etc. You have those doors, you walk in, they open on their own. But essentially, what happens when you reach the room? You are always inserting a key and maybe some sort of a RFD or infrared technology will have to come. When you reach the room, show the key, the door opens, click opens, then you push it with the door. I mean, these things are all in the process of development. Housekeeping plays a very major role. Today, in fact, housekeeping is now, the cleanliness of housekeeping is taken over the entire marketing game. You are no more marketing the hotel on that I have got so many bars, I've got so many pubs, I've got so much cuisine, I've got spa. You are now marketing your hotel saying that our housekeeping is doing the following thing. So it's become a marketing point now. So it has to ensure cleanliness of the hospital standards. Clinically clean. Elevators and the movements in the hotels will have to be marked. Marked in the sense decently, it can't be like a railway station because it has to look elegant as well as properly marked for proper movement. Safe distancing will have to be kept in mind. Restaurant seating to be redefined. I mean, earlier the restaurants were designed on 17 square feet per person. And banqueting was 12 square feet per person, but now the international standard is 27 square feet per person, irrespective it's banqueting or so which means the entire capacity is reduced to almost to 1/3. This you have to execute. Full-time medical assistance and assurance, we've already spoken about it earlier. One of the biggest thing is, which is a bigger challenge for the entire industry, service industry. When I say service with warmth and human touch, but no contact. And this is the biggest challenge for this industry because we've always said service with smile, there's that. Smile is behind the mask. So you will have to the trainers will have to come out with the body language where you'll have to display to the guests, look, we are at your service. So those kind of standing operating procedures will happen. Something which was not looked so seriously probably left to a couple of people in hotel. Emergency response process. This will include two things: guest feedback strategy. Any guest who stayed at your hotel and goes away and says, look, this hotel or this restaurant, this process caused me this infection, etc., you are doomed. This spreads like viral. So you will have to make sure that these strategies in place, dealing with it immediately, and you dip the bug then and there itself. Encourage feedback and respond within 1 hour. Don't have to wait. Somebody will respond in the evening. No, probably will not give you. By evening, it would have spread all over the world. Social media strategy to ensure there is no negativity on this front. If any negativity is noted, need to respond immediately and engage for closure to satisfaction of the guest, ensuring no damage to the brand. The same guest who's posted a negative comment about you, he should be responded, met, or dealt with so that he becomes your ambassador and he says, look, I had a problem. I told these guys and they responded in such a beautiful professional manner that I really love that. That means you're absolutely assured that you can be taken care of. Just do not worry. You also have to ensure third-party service providers. There are a lot of transport people, taxis are provided to hotels, guides come to your hotel. There are a lot of shopping experiences. You have shops, you send guests to the shopping experiences. Concierge has to ensure only certified by the hotel vendors are recommended. And all these service providers also have to follow COVID-19 linked services. COVID-19 related quality parameters. Now coming on to the shared services concept, this is something new which is coming up. As of now, why I say shared services concept is something new. In bigger brands or companies or chains which have more than 1 or 2 or 3 hotels in one city, probably they were already doing this. But there are a lot of independent hotels. They will be compelled to look at it, make sure that their cost remains under check and control. In this, what happens is the hotels are provided with extensive pre-opening support across 5 different areas. I mean, this concept can run into pre-opening to post-opening to operations to sales and marketing, as I discussed earlier. So I'm now talking about the pre-opening. In this, you redesign the opening and operations standard operating procedures for that hotel. Look, this is what you will have to follow. Let us say there is a hotel which is not aligned or which is not affiliated to any brand, does not have access to standard operating procedure, is rather dependent on hire one general manager and we will go by what the general manager says. Without meaning anything, what I'm saying is a general manager in an independent hotel is generally average life is about 1.5 years to 2 years. Each general manager brings his or her own culture. But as long as the hotel doesn't have its own culture, which is to be followed by each incumbent who comes and sits and operates the hotel, these independent hotels will find it difficult. So hence it becomes important for them to align to certain standard operating procedures, starting from pre-opening, post-operations. And they'll have to get into sales, marketing, revenue management, and human resource. Instead of hiring your own people for sales, marketing, revenue management, human resource, there's on a profit on a P&L statement, as we call it, profit and I didn't want to mention loss, profit and loss. On a P&L statement, as we say, sales, marketing, revenue management, and human resource. Human resource, of course, is the largest. It's 18 to 20% of the total revenue. But sales, marketing, and revenue management also takes about 14 to 15%. Having said that, this takes about 30 to 32% of your entire revenue. Now, as the revenue dips, I said in the beginning, the ARRs will take a little bit of, guests will look at the more value-based proposition rather than paying you the earlier ARR. This percentage will become bigger. So essentially, it is important to keep your hotel floating till the time the ARRs come back to the normal times. It's important these costs are also kept under check and control. And the best way is to operate through this shared network rather than hiring your own teams. Sales and distribution, what can be done in this? You can have common source market presence instead of opening your own office all over the country. MICE agents, travel agents, corporates. This could be again clustered. You don't have to really have your own selling agents reaching out to MICE operators, travel agents. These can be clustered into one person who could be picking up business for 6 hotels or 5 hotels. Correct website has to be focused more. It's an online opportunity for you to garner the bookings, as many reservations you can. Right now, the study says if you look at the average attention to the direct website bookings, it's less than 8%. The entire industry seems to be dependent on the OTAs, online travel agents. Make my trip se aa raha hai, Go se aa raha hai, se aa raha, usse aa raha hai. But there are people coming to your website and also visiting. There are cookies, there are ways, and your website is capturing it. There are ways to convert them. If you can convert that query into confirmation, you will be saving much more money than, to the online travel agents, you could be paying commission anything 18 to 25%. Social media marketing, SEO, CM, social engines. What happens in this is that instead of hiring your own teams and engaging them in if this is given to a person who's common, who understands hospitality and tourism, does work for all the hotels, will be, you'll be getting the work done at almost about 30% of your cost rather than spending full amount. Cost optimization, you will have to depend on experts who can do cost breakup analysis with regular audits and checks. Wherever, what we call when we do a cost trail, you have to relook at NVAs. Sometimes you are just doing a process, you're following a process since ages because it's been done that way. Maybe you need to study it. NVA is what we call NVA, non-value additions will have to be removed. They bring down the cost. Variable strategies aligned with the variable cost. In case the business is there, cost is there. Business is not there, cost should not be there. There is no need to store materials for, look, my hotel is doing 80% occupancy. If it is doing 20% occupancy, might as well buy material worth about 20% occupancy. Industry and asset benchmarking for optimum staff to hotel capacity ratio. Now, this is a very highly debatable issue in our country because our hotels are designed, room to employee ratio could be as high as 1.6, 1.5, 1.4. Internationally, the hotels are operating at 0.5, 0.4, 0.6. I think we have space to relook at it. This can be worked. The employee training has to improve so that people can do multitasking. So an experience which is majorly from the industry standards and best practices to ensure accurate planning. That will lead to the better cost optimization. That's it from my side, and as much in my wisdom I could gather the points. All yours. I'm willing to answer any questions which may have come to you.
Sir, it was a very informative presentation. Yes, sir, we do have, we'll request the attendees, panelists to please type in the question in the chat box and we will take it up. So before that, I have a question that, now, right now when tourism is on hold, travel is on hold, but we are totally depending on virtual reality. Virtual reality is the landscape of tourism, but the experience and preparedness for its future seems not to be the same. So can anyone really claim to have tourism experience with VR, with virtual reality?
See, the only thing you can do is virtual reality is a good bedrock for marketing the tourism. Now, till the time people don't start moving out of their houses, probably it will not be out of place to keep propagating the destinations, keep highlighting your, highlights of your country, destination, city, etc., so that you can engage with the entire direct target audience to reach out to you as and when the travel begins. Travel is likely most probably November, December, January, anybody's guess. Some people are saying once the vaccine comes out, some people are saying once the treatment starts coming out. But I feel once the economy bounces back, the moment you have money in your pocket, you suddenly forget all problems and start traveling. So virtual reality, definitely it's good that it is brought. This will give rise to better marketing. But virtual tourism, virtual reality cannot replace tourism. That experience cannot be there. You want to be there.
Yes, sir. So,
Yeah. Have I answered your question?
hello. Yes, sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Now you are. Now you're
Yes,
audible.
sir. You are right that reality is a short-term thing. Okay. Sir, I have one more question. Keep in mind that yes, tourism is a worst hit industry right now, but how you think the government or the stakeholders are going to support this industry in order to revive it back? Because tourism and travel is totally on hold right now. So, what do you think will be the role of the government or the stakeholders in order to support this industry and revive it back the way it was before COVID?
I suppose your question is in relation to India, is that right? Your question is more directed towards our country rather than globally, is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, talking about India, sir. Actually, we know that tourism is not a very important aspect for government, but I would really like to know what we are expecting from government in order to revive this industry.
Yeah, I would answer this question in two, three ways. There are states in this country which have realized that tourism plays a bigger role in making the economy move. Their states, for example, Himachal. Himachal understands it very clearly that some of their hilly stations, their economy moves on those 120 days of summer, when the entire country wants to come and stay there, and that creates enough revenue for the citizens of that city to live for the full year. Second state is Rajasthan. Rajasthan is completely tourism driven. They put their all old palaces, havelis. So they are already engaged into redrafting their tourism policies. First step is already begun. Now, a little bit of a stress comes when you have to look for a monetary help from the government. Now, I think governments are also stretched out in terms of providing fiscal assistance to, because they have to provide assistance to almost to all sectors. Somewhere I keep reading it that we are looking at more and more help for substitutes or taking care of our employee salaries, etc. If government was to do that, government has to take care of whole lot of other sectors' employees also. Aviation today is worst hit. Aviation has virtually come to a closure. So there are a whole lot of sectors. So I think this judicious mix will begin to happen only once the entire trauma is gone through. We are still passing through it. It's not over. So the whether it'll last till September and over, so there'll be some sort of, but essentially yes, most of the states have started relooking drafting of policies. They are making more policies which are now bringing in private stakeholders in the game, and they'll give larger opportunity for people to operate. So I think that way the tourism sector will see a larger participation of private sector in managing the tourism for the nation. That's my take on it.
So thank you so much. We are looking forward that yes, government will definitely stand up with this industry and do something. Sir, I have one more question. Actually, COVID has affected our economic behavior of a tourist. The ability to travel, the opportunity to spend because of this situation. Could there be a situation that tourism will not only return to its pre-pandemic indicators, but will quickly exceed them also?
See, I would answer it this way. The entire graph of tourism was growing from whatever base point we had last year. Last year always was the base point, right? So you were looking at a graph. The tourism
Yes.
globally, I am talking of World Travel and Tourism Council figures.
Hmm.
It has grown with a pace of about, I think, 10 to 12%. But 2012 onwards, tourism has been growing almost at a pace of about 16 to 17%. And mind you, earlier when it was growing at 12%, the base number was also lower. Now 2012 onwards, when it is growing at 6 plus percentage, the base number is also higher. So which means the multiplicity of the tourism was definitely much more higher. That's point number one. Point number two is that we were growing and creating infrastructure, right? Now the infrastructure is already in place. It is gone into suspended mode for the time being. Now, somewhere down the line, joint effort of governments globally as well as the private sector will bring it back to the normal quite sort of faster. Our industry guess is that by 2021 September, we should be back to normal. So which means the entire employment,
We all hope
jobs,
so.
opportunity, yeah. Unless something else
Okay,
hits.
sir. Thanks. Unless something else. We hope nothing hits us anymore. This is more than enough to have COVID. Uh, Sir, now I answer for the panelists and attendees. So, Sunil sir, I can see some questions on the chat box. If you can please take them up.
So we have one question which is coming up here. So we have Chef Saurav here. He has mentioned big chains and groups still manage to sustain, but what is your take on standalone restaurants and even some 2 or 3 star hotels who are closing down their business and are also not familiar with concepts like cost optimization and outsourcing? What will be your suggestion as on how they can sustain themselves in the coming few years? Major the 2 and 3 star hotels and the standalone properties. How do they work out the cost optimization and outsourcing? How we can train them in the same?
So to a large extent, I've sort of made an attempt to answer this question in my presentation. But yes, I did mention that any independent hotel, 2 star hotel or 3 star hotel or an independent restaurant, which was not literally following the guidelines which were provided for, or will have to get into this act to stay in business. I mean, one is the cost optimization, the other thing is to stay in business. To stay in the business, if they wish to, they will have to ensure that they follow the guideline, because it is nothing to do with the government implementing. Today, the consumer is more aware. I mean, you are no more going back to the same Golgappe wala at Green Sweets, unless you see him wearing a glove and doing a better thing. So the consumer is more aware. So second, 2 star, 3 star independent hotels and independent restaurants. First is that they have to adopt. Now, how to bring about the rationalization? So this is where I said they will have to depend on shared services. They will have to create pool of services there, which is where a common training manager is available to train the employees of 10 restaurants. A common training manager is available to impart training to independent hotels, 4 hotels which exist in a city. Could be of different owners, different brands. One common platform or software is used by all 4 hotels to distribute their rooms. There's a term called, new term what we've started utilizing in under. Instead of competition within the industry, we will have to look at co-optation. If let's say there are 500 rooms in a city, I'm giving an example, mathematical one. There are 500 rooms in a city, and these belong to 4 different brands, 125, 100, okay, 125 each. Now, in the normal course, what will do? To garner the larger business share, they will keep cutting down each other's price or do some exercise. But if they four get together and decide, let's fill each one of us. If he gets 80 room, I get 20 room, or that guy gets 60 room, it doesn't matter. Let us try and promote and bring more travelers to our city, which eventually will, if not this year, next year will fill up. We'll have much more longer lasting impact rather than to competing with each other. Similar kind of things is with the restaurants also. If there are 4 restaurants or 6 restaurants, it's best to drop it. If, since I live in Delhi, if Connaught Place restaurants have to come back, bounce back into the life, they have to jointly promote themselves instead of saying, you look, this restaurant in Connaught Place gives you this, that restaurant in Connaught Place gives you this restaurant in Connaught Place gives you this. Instead, if they can promote Connaught Place dining at Connaught Place and all restaurants are giving this, it'll take all travelers, all parts of consumers from Delhi to Connaught Place rather than going to Gurgaon or South Ex or any other. So those are the marketing activities they'll have to look at. They will have to jointly work together to promote their destinations and location rather than their individual outlets. This is my philosophy. My New Tourism Foundation, which I have created, is purely to help each other at par, and it's a trust. It's created as a trust. It's a no-profit body, and we bring in everybody more for education. Then we deliberate issues and we teach people how to go about doing things rather than, because competing is a very old style formula. Competition only works when your markets are matured markets. Every hotel is experiencing 70% occupancy. Every restaurant is experiencing 70%. This is part one. On the cost also I've shared. Part two is the restaurant also have to see their ability, how quickly from dining they can become a quick service restaurant. So they'll have to bring in delivery of food as well as takeaways. If there was a restaurant which was only sort of entertaining the people who would come into the hotel and dine or restaurant, they will also have to add takeaway service as well as delivery service. So they'll have to create 2-3 more options of revenue channels for themselves. That's my answer to this question.
Right, sir. I'm going to combine 2 questions here. There are 2 different questions which I have here. Now, the first question is saying that what if a guest develops the COVID-19 symptoms during the stay in the hotel? What should be the right SOPs? And second question is saying, would you like to go back to that hotel where one of the guests is being isolated? So how will the hotels be addressing this issue?
Well, given the damage the social media does and given the misinformation social media sends, it will be a big challenge. Because these Delhi hotels are facing this problem. There are a number of hotels which were taken into quarantine. And they're facing this challenge because as and when they decide that we are now open, so people are still on, no, you had quarantined guests with you, which means Corona lives, your guest is gone, but Corona is left, Corona in your hotel. So only education and all that can bring about this life. Now, how long does it live on surfaces? How long does it live under various conditions? There were people asking questions, the central air conditioning in a 5-star hotel is the biggest deterrent to the biggest problem for the coronavirus. Because if a guest goes in there and in a centrally air conditioned building, that suddenly all 200 guests or 300 employees, everybody will have corona because it is circulating through. Everything has been said that it does not communicate through the air, it only moves surface to surface. When you touch a surface, it moves. Somebody came out with some sort of a fluorescent paint. Videos were also circulating. You touch a surface, it was suddenly in less than 30 seconds, it was catching 4 or 5 people quickly. So there are a lot of misinformation which is being spread out. So this is going to be a huge challenge, and people will have to keep tackling this gradually but constantly through the marketing. But as far as the question is concerned, would I go back to the same hotel? Yes, I think I have learned enough about Corona. If the hotel is the most responsible institution I've seen, whatever is brought in there, they follow it to the T, and they will implement everything possible. Yes, I will definitely go back to that. Have I answered it all?
Yes, sir. I had something in the mind coming. I don't know
Yes,
where
sir.
it has
Thank
come
you.
in
Yes,
from.
sir.
I was just
No.
thinking of this thing, like you mentioned about inviting the guests for going out shopping, going out for shopping. Can we think of a new kind of a job profile? I'll say a person who can assist them and can ensure that they remain sanitized wherever they go. Can we look at something like that coming up in the future? Because we
Most
have
of the
valleys already.
most of the hotels or institutions have already, earlier we used to have, the kitchen stewarding and all that. They were looking only at the hygiene of food production areas, etc., etc. But now most of the hotels have started looking at hygiene officer. And as far as the hotels are concerned, you already have concierge. I mean, concierge is busy recommending shopping experience. So the only thing concierge will have to make sure is that he only will have to recommend those shops or
Okay.
vendors or places which follow the guidelines of disinfectants and everything.
Okay. We have a question from one of our student of our third year. In response to this change in consumer thinking, what adjustments will the hotel need to make to impact their thinking?
See, the adjustment the hotel will have to make it in the short term, they will have to first bring the price bands to match the consumer expectation. That's the first and basic. And having done that, they will have to recalibrate their operating expenses. So these are the two major changes the hotels will have to. But guest, as far as guest is concerned, because he's paying you lesser money. Earlier he was paying you 2,000, now he's paying you 1,500 or vice versa. But he's not willing to give you a similar discount on the quality. His expectation on the quality remains same, which was pre-COVID. So under no circumstances, drop in your drop in price or value proposition should be viewed as now I can actually reduce the quality. No, probably you may have to enhance the quality to stay up and alive. So it's an important question and it's a challenging task. As I said, at the end of the day, you are not looking at profit. You are only looking in the business. 2020 year is to stay in business, stay alive.
Right, sir. Chandana ma'am, to you? You there, ma'am?
Got disconnected.
No, she's here, sir. She's here. I think you take up one very simple, single question that's here. So Mr. Gulshan is asking, like, what is the new hope in tourism sector after COVID-19? The new hope that we can look forward.
I think that's a very, very good question. I was expecting the new hope for the tourism industry per se. Let me answer it this way. New hope for the people in tourism industry. In this country, it is only the hospitality industry people who are trained for services. And the services which were not there in other sectors will also begin to come in. There's a larger utilization of tourism professionals or hospitality professionals into the hospitals will take place. I mean, already the demands have started coming in. Look, if you go to the HR consultant or manpower sourcing companies, they say a lot of hospitals are asking, we need hotel trained people. There's a lot of stress building up almost in every business. They've started asking for aviation people. If they know aviation people can deal with stress and deal with the consumer this thing. As far as this is about the people. As far as the tourism industry per se is coming, I think it's a temporary suspension, temporary glitch. What we call the V-shaped recovery in the tourism industry would be the fastest. Because at many places, people have always been traveling at many places. It drives the economy, and governments have understood it's most non-polluting industry. It will bounce back on its own. And I'm giving it September 21. We'll be back to the same pre-COVID levels.
Perfect. Right, sir. Thank you so much for answering all the questions. I must say it was whichever thing you shared was actually very practical. So I think Chandra ma'am is back. Chandra ma'am?
Yeah, I'm back. Thank
Yes.
you so much, Sunil sir, for joining us and enlightening us with all the information. It was really required for our students also to know that there is hope for tourism. Tourism and travel is not going anywhere, and we are going to bounce back. So that was a boost from your side which has come. And I think the student must have gained a lot of information, what you have shared with us. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us. I thank all the panelists, all the attendees that you have joined us and spared your time. And we have our last workshop lined up tomorrow, which is on revenge tourism by Ms. Vijesh Yoganathan from Oki.com. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sunil sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you
Mr.
for-
Gupta,
thank
sorry,
you
I
for
kept
giving
on
me
coming up and
opportunity.
going off. Yeah. Sorry, I kept on going off because the network was not very good here. So excellent, brilliant. In fact, I've made a lot of notes out of what you said, sir. Thank you very much for your valuable contribution to this.
Thank you. Thank you. It was indeed a pleasure
Thank you,
speaking
sir.
to you all. Thank you. Hope it makes